Okay, what's happening right now is they are looking at how many of the details that I'm able to disclose, and they're blocking a lot of things. So, like, they're kind of probing, like they're flashing images of certain situations and looking at how much information comes to mind and blocking some of the things. So, as I'm looking at what's taking place, they're quickly like blocking some of the things, and I'm not able to access it. So this intake process, like I said, I go shower and I get in this uniform, then I go and I sit and I talk to this other officer. It's a male officer, and he's doing like the intake process, like officially like putting me in the system or whatever. And we were going over some things, like they were mad, like remotely they were mad because I updated my address, like, and when you update it at the county, it kind of overrides the BMV, and that was like one of the issues that I ran into before with like getting a pistol and just ID, whatever. None of that matters. So did the intake process or whatever, and this guy was actually cool too. I was disappointed with my mugshot because let me tell you something. Okay, when you get your mugshot done, they have like this camera. It's in the ceiling. So like I'm looking up at this camera right now. That's like actually supposed to be a good angle. Okay, but theirs is like positioned way up like this, and it's at a distance or whatever, and it causes you because you have to look straight ahead. They don't want you to be like, what I'm saying? So you look straight ahead, but it causes your eyes to go up. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, and when it prints, the more they condense the picture, you look just like a demon. I was trying to keep the badge to show it, and she told me I couldn't take it. So anyhow, I've been searching for my mugshot and I haven't been able to find it. Like, I even got a little database. I'm going to show you if it's still on here. Of like the arrests that were made during the time that I was there. And I didn't pop up on that either. So, like I said, he was decent too, this guy. And so he's like, he's like, you're not going to be going upstairs tonight. He was like, because everyone's in isolation. And he was like, so you're going to be down here with us for the night and blah, blah, blah. So like I'm in a cell that's behind him. I can't sleep. They give me a mat. I asked him about food. He's like, it won't be till about 5:30 in the morning or whatever. Gives you a little mat or whatever. There's no pillow. And some covers. And I can't sleep. They won't allow me to sleep. The government, those surveilling me would not allow me to sleep. Because, I've talked about this in the past. It goes back to that whole, well, if she goes to sleep, they're going to know who she is, and we're trying to get them to mistreat her type thing. We don't want them treating her no different than they treat everybody else type thing. So I'm laying there, and I'm just laying. And I'm listening to all the stuff that's going on around me. And the homeless guy, this is in drawing awareness too. They put him right next to me, but this is like later at night or maybe early morning. They put him next to me. That video is titled something like The Demon from Terry House. So anyhow, the cops that showed up at the library show up at the county. And he comes in to clear the neighbors. So he comes in red herring and talking about stuff that he don't know. And I'm listening. And like, it's crazy because like the little officer that was with him, the one that I said was like packing my bag and stuff after he inventoried it. Like, he was the one that came and peeked to see if I was up and listening. And I call him peeking and like being like scared and turning the fuck away. Like coming being like, like he knew he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing type thing. So anyhow, he comes and he's trying to clear the neighbors, like just in case. And he was talking about a written statement. He said, yeah, I'm trying to get somebody to write a statement or whatever, and he doesn't want her coming back there. Like he was talking about the library at that point, but how remote harassment goes. They swore up and down he was talking about everything else. The entire time I was there, they suggested I got put out my apartment. Like there was no protocol for that and all kind of stuff. So they were cursing and spelling, and they were wait a second. So he comes, he said, yeah, and the one guy was like, so he was acting like he went and he talked to the neighbors, and he said, and the one guy was like, yeah, so what? Like, what, am I not supposed to have a bonfire? You know, and this is the same thing that officer, the one that I just said, did my intake and was like being decent towards me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that officer from the library, he showed up to shape the perspective of him. And once he did that, like once he smeared me, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? He was talking about my apartment and stuff. He was like, yeah, she don't have no furniture. You know what I'm saying? Like, going in a way. So I'm just laying here and I'm taking it in. And eventually I get up and I go to the door, but they're gone now. It's like as soon as I'm about to make a scene, they're gone. But I was trying to get all the information I could. So that, like I said, that intake officer, he was passing it on. He was passing it on. And then they had another guy like that came in the middle of the night. Black guy with dreads. And he was on the payphone talking or whatever. But he was on the payphone talking like he knew me. So let me tell you something. They were acting like I went viral, okay? They were acting like it hit the news. They were acting like all kind of stuff. And this guy, he comes in, he's on a payphone with somebody, and he's like, yeah, you know, and she used to be such and such on Facebook. Like, that's the part that I'm worried about mentioning, because I don't like to know what I don't see. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I told you in the past, like, one of the issues that or one of the elements of gang stalking is staging conversation. So sometimes they'll stage something, you know, and you can see I was skilled in knowing the difference between the two, you know. So, like, but occasionally, you know, like, I'm still really like, I don't jump right into stuff like that, you know. Like, I just I listen, and then I listen before acting. So anyhow, now it's 5:30 and breakfast is here. I haven't slept, but you know what? They're not there to make sure you're sleeping, so no one knows that I haven't slept. All they know is that I'm laying there with my eyes closed. So they come, and breakfast is a piece of cake in between two pieces of bread and a pack of peanut butter. So I'm looking like, what the fuck is, you know, this is what I'm thinking. I didn't throw a fit. She was like, you know, unlocked the door, came in and set it on the thing. She was like, breakfast, I'm just going to sit right here. I was like, okay. But I got up and I looked at it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? What is this? And then, like, one of those little cartons of juice, they don't even give you, like, they don't give you the you know how, like, in elementary they got like the small little milk, and then they got the juice. They were given the small ones. Anyhow, so I'm like, what the fuck? And I ended up skipping. I think I might have pinched off the cake a little bit, you know. Lunch came around. It's horrible. I'm going to tell you about these meals, but I'm going to tell you about the meals at the end because it's not as relevant. Matter of fact, maybe I should. Anyhow, so now later in the day comes. This is later the next day. So this is the 1st of December. This is the 1st of December now. And I'm going to be going upstairs this evening. So we go through the meals, you know, lunch and dinner. And then she's like, okay, you know, finally it's time. So we go. And one of the things during intake was, he was asking me, he was like, you know, about an emergency contact. And I told him I don't have one. He was like, no, like, you know, it's just something like, I get what an emergency contact is. I told him, I said, I understand. I was like, but imagine not being in touch with anyone, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I don't have one. I just don't have anyone to put on file. And he was like, well, you're not going to be able to use the phone. And I was like, that's okay. I ain't got nobody to call, you know? So, Anyhow, fast back to where I was. I go upstairs and I go in there and she's looking at what I have. And I just have these sheets with me, really. And she's like, you don't have a cup or whatever? And I'm like, no. And she brings me back a cup in a bowl, but there's a dirty cup in a bowl. A little dirty brown cup and dirty little brown bowl. And she's like, the soap's right here. This is right here. And you're upstairs. So she's like, right now they're spending 23 days in the sale. And, you know, you come out for one. You use the kite or, you know, make a call. I'm like, okay. And she tells me where my cell is, you know. And I run me some water at the sink downstairs. This is like 5A2 pod. I'm in cell number 19. Cell number 19 in between 17 and 23. No, 17 and 21. That's not right. I'm in cell number 21. Because 23, 24, 23, 22, 21. Okay, yeah, I'm in 21. In between 23 and 19. Did you see how they just did that? I'm telling you. It's bad. Like I'm recording right now and you're seeing what you're seeing of this. They're capturing the same thing, but they'll like purposefully like switch a date, switch a number to get the number that they desire. They were trying to call that girl next to me, call me her the entire time. I'm gonna tell you what was going on in those cells. So anyhow, I'm in 21, in between 19 and 23. And I go upstairs, you know, after I get my little things, and I'm like, there's a bunk, there's a toilet, and a sink, and there's a chair, and a little desk, and there's a window. And they have radio at the county. They got a little radio box like thing. It's built into the wall. You can push the button. It got 4 stations, maybe 5. It was days before I listened to it. So let me tell you something. Like I said, this is the 1st of December. They laid off of me for like the first 2 days in that cell. And then they went all the way in. This is what I'm thinking. Because I got a bond. Oh, I skipped arraignment court. Hold on. Okay, so anyhow, arraignment court. That's the same day. I think it was like 9 something that morning. Okay. So anyhow, I get up there and I'm watching them do their normal. They're doing it remotely. So they're videoing in, you know, and they're in the courtroom and they're looking at you and you're looking at them in the courtroom. Yeah, anyhow, whatever. So, and they're doing their normal one too, you know, like pushing a motherfucking sheep through. And, you know, just no one's different. No one's different to them. You're all criminals. And so I go and I sit here and I'm listening to the judge or whatever. He's telling me what I'm being, he's telling me what my charge is or whatever. And the first thing I realized when I get this pink piece of paper is that David did not press charges and that the city, not just the city, but the state and the county picked it up. That's 3 corporate entities. So I'm like, okay. So it's like this charge, you know, blah, blah, blah. I requested a signature bond. He denied it. So now I have to sit. I got to sit until my next court date. And my court date is on the 15th of December. So I have to sit for 2 weeks. So that's the end of that. He's like, hopefully, he was like, good luck, you know, like, hopefully you get to talk to your lawyer, you know, pretty much before your hearing. And go upstairs. And then some weird shit happened. in between here, because like I said, it's like all the little filthy shit. And so I go back. Oh, I go back downstairs to the intake area or whatever. This is before I get moved upstairs. And now I'm upstairs and I'm in my cell. Fast forward. And I told you they laid off me for like the first 2, maybe 3 days. And then they started attacking me really, 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 really bad. They started attacking me really, really bad. So I kept track. I kept a record of everything. Where you're going to be able to find like, they didn't want to give me paper or nothing. I'm talking about the answer. When I first got there, it wasn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, the deputy gave me 6 sheets of paper and 2 pencils. And so, you know, it's not even like I was asking for a lot, but the answer to everything is, you got to get that on with commissary or on commissary or Kaif or whatever. And I'm like, I ain't got nobody put money on my books. And the food is horrible. I'm talking about like, it just made it to where it's edible. The food isn't horrible in jail. I'm gonna do a separate video about the food. So I'm like, and I'm looking at this Kaif thing, this little digital thing that they got. They're like, if you need, you know, such and such, you know, this is a way to reach out. You can't reach out to nobody with that thing. They have like a few categories. Like if you want to try to request somebody for mental health, you know, you can send a Kaif for that. If you want to shoot a note to the kitchen, you can shoot like a little email for that. That's what it is. It's like an emailing system, a little kiosk where you email or something. And then they had this thing, me being smart. Me being smart. They got this little thing. It's like they got a little category for trust. And I'm like, oh, this must be like the what was I? Oh, they're blocking my music. They got bad. Okay, so like I said, I'm smart. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, okay, well, the only thing that's gonna be of use to me, I requested fruit, like, or vegetable. I'm like, since something that turned into like a request for like commissary, they said that you could buy some fruit. So, but that was like days later. Anyhow, I didn't use the phone while I was there. I attempted on probably 3 occasions to contact a bail bondsman. Like, I encourage you to read the journal that I made, like what I recorded while I was there. Because I'm not going to go into the details of any of that. But like I said, since I'm smart, when I see this trust thing, I'm like, oh, I understand that I'm a product of legal fiction. You know, like that I'm not here because I broke a law. I am law. I understand I'm here because I violated a uniform commercial code. So I'm like, okay, this trust thing that they're talking about must be in relation to trust fund, because there was like a thing where you could apply that to the commissary. Me being smart. That's not what it was. To be a trust means that you're someone that works on the inside and you want them to trust you to like go do laundry or do something, and you make a little bit of money that way for a commissary. No. So like I said, I encourage you to read it. I'm about to cut this short. The female to my left in cell number 23 was fucking the deputies. Read what I wrote. Read what I wrote, and they were very bold and shameless about it while I was boldly watching. That cell, you know, and even the inmate, you know, like she was kind of bold about it. Like she was telling some other females, you know, that they always put her in the same cell every time she comes there, you know, and it's kind of tucked off where you can't see in it. You can't see what's going on. And the camera won't catch you being in front of the cell. It'll only show that they didn't come out, and that they went and disappeared off the camera for a period of time. Yeah, read what I wrote. On the 15th, when my hearing finally came, I was supposed to get out that day. They kept me another day. I didn't get out till 8 a.m., about 8 a.m. on the 16th of December. And then I didn't have my keys or anything on me, like I had to go to the damn police department on foot to get those. What I did was read the digital journal. That's where all the details are. That Word document even has like an option I saw yesterday now, like where it will read it to you. It'll read like what was written out loud. And what makes the digital journal so cool is it has photos, so like a lot takes place. I've written like in 3 weeks, I've written like 116 pages or something, 120. And that gives you an idea of how much takes place. And that's with me spending almost 2 weeks inside, okay? Like, when I go out, it's too much. Because I know what's going on. So, what else about jail? I go, I asked her, and I ended up taking a plea deal. I was prepared to do 6 months. I'm not finished. I need to talk about this. So I'm sitting here. Okay, so this is what happens. Mental health comes. I'd never called for them. The one deputy, she buzzed into my room the one day. She was like, hey, mental health is here. Like, do you want to speak with them? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay. So they went away. But then they came back another day, and the guy told me about it. And I'm like, well, what is it that they want? What's the nature? And he was like, they're associated with the court. He said, hold on, let me go see. He went and he checked, and he buzzed in and let me know that they were with the court. And I was like, I guess I'll see what they have to say. And that's when I went down, and they told me what they do and how they're affiliated, what their program is. It's like a probation program, pretty much. Like, they pull some stunt. Anyhow. So I was absolutely sure that I wasn't going to do that. I was absolutely sure. I said I'll do 6 months before I motherfucking do a year at CSS. So right now, like, you'll see that, like, how the details were changing and shifting. Like, I had no way of knowing that surveillance didn't catch this. It was once I pulled the police report after I got out that I knew that that wasn't an element that I faced. That was the one thing that I was harping on that influenced my decision the most. Because this is what I intended on doing. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not doing this ADM board SUMA thing. SUMA and CSS thing. I'm not doing that. I was like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight it, and I'll have a chance to establish some things on the record or whatever. And I was like, worst case scenario, I'll do 6 months if I don't beat it or whatever. So then hold on, let me think real quick. Okay, so look, this is what it was. I'm like, okay, as long as I can get out to prepare, because like this Bell's bondsman thing, they making sure I don't get what they're trying to do is they're trying to push me to take a plea deal. You get what I'm saying? Like, Bell's bondsman ain't answering my call and stuff like that. Like, they ain't answering. They telling me they ain't gonna answer, and all kind of stuff. So they're trying to push me to go the way that they want me to go. So I'm like, okay, whatever. These 15 days or whatever, but I just need to know that on this 15th day, I'm going to get a chance to get out and prepare the case. And that's kind of like where once I talked to Brandy Roberts, things shifted a little bit, and I started looking at the plea deal, you know, because she's like, well, she was like, I have a chance. She was like, I was asking for a signature bond. She was like, it won't get approved today. She was like, but I could take that to the judge. She said, and I'll probably end up meeting you back here this time next week. That's another week in jail for it not to even be definite. But she said, you know, she felt she had a chance with it. And I'm like, another week for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then what's that going to turn into? Like, anyhow, it'll be like prolonging the inevitable. So, and I asked her, you know, like about, I didn't, she, like I said, during this time, I'm looking at the facts. This took place right in front of a camera. There's no doubt about it. They got the surveillance. There's no need. Even with them removing me from surveillance in the past, you know, that just wasn't even part of my thought process at the time. I couldn't even factor that in. So when I talked to her, I didn't ask about their surveillance. I just asked about third-party statements. And I actually ended up asking the magistrate about third-party statements. So, hold on, they're protecting my arm. Okay, they're burning me up. So anyhow, I'm like, I'm talking to her or whatever, talking about what I'm looking at and all that stuff or whatever. And she's like, you know, well, are you interested in this? And at first I'm like, no, but you know, that quickly changed. Like I said, especially when I realized that I might have to spend another week and I ain't got money for commissary. I don't got nobody to contact. You know, I just don't have anything. So it became more of a priority for me to get out. And I started looking at, like, I just need to get out. This is how I started looking at the situation. Like, let me just get out of this. And, you know, if I need to write a letter to the judge afterwards, then that's what I'll do. If I need to write a complaint, then that's what I'll do. If I need to, you know, try and establish something or an addendum to the record, then that's what I'll do. But originally I was planning on doing 6 months. I'm looking at that like, if all else fails, that's what it's gonna be. But they managed to swindle, you know what I'm saying, that shit in there. The surveillance. I had no way of knowing. It wasn't until I went to the police department. I grabbed my personal property downstairs, then I went upstairs to the record room and I got the police report to see what it said, and that's when I found out. That's when I found out. So in actuality, in all actuality, all the odds, all things were in my favor. You know, but I had no way of knowing that. And Brandy Roberts is not somebody that you want to represent you. She's a fast talker, and she's there for the covenant. You know what I'm saying? Like, so these things, you know, like you have to establish who you are, and that's what I'm doing right now. What else? Okay, so anyhow, that's it. You're in a brick room. No, I was just thinking about how bad they were attacking me while I was there. And I was gonna note that I wanted to tear the whole place up, but you're in a brick room with like porcelain and steel. Like, you'll hurt yourself first. And if you try to tell them, they're gonna know that, you know, like what's being done to you, they're gonna know that it's a delusion. So anyhow, I took the plea deal. And like I said, I'm in the process of establishing who I am, or reiterating who I am, because these are covert entities. You know, they know, but they're under suggestion. You know, some of them think They're just under the wrong impression. And I'm going to fix that.